So we're live. Or will be. Look for the red light, I guess.
Melt this down a little.
Great.
This is Jim Purdy, right?
Yep. Correct.
Hello all.
Hi, Jen. How are you?
I'm great.
That's good. This is Jackie, and I'm going to turn you over to Alex in a second, but just a little phone etiquette.
Yeah.
If you're not talking, you need to hit mute on your phone so we don't get the feedback. And then Alex will acknowledge you for commentary and roll call votes and give you a minute to unmute yourself. But anytime you're not talking...
Hang on just a second. Let me see if I have a mute button on this.
Okay.
I thought that was
Also,
coming.
just put your hand over
Great.
it.
Yeah.
We are already recording, FYI, on television, so just a fair warning.
Makes for better local TV.
This is great television.
I don't have a mute button.
Real.
Okay, then just try to avoid like any incidental noises, or just like cover the speaker with your hand.
Okay.
Okay, great.
It's Jim, it's nice and clear. So let me call the meeting to order.
Yep.
And next time I'll get you all dialed in, and then we'll start the record button. But thanks for joining us from Maine. I'm sure it's beautiful up there. Is it?
No, it's got a beautiful rain shower coming through, which we need very much, actually.
Right, right. We've got some of that here too. So, Jim, we've got a few items on the agenda. We'll basically kind of list them off to you. As Jackie said, we'll keep you in the loop.
I also did
Everything.
email you, Jim, to your personal email, the same packet that I gave out here tonight. If you have your system in front of you, you can pull that up.
Thanks, Patty.
Yep.
So, and we've got a quorum present with Mike and Carrie and me. Apparently you don't count towards the quorum, but again, thanks for being here. David Molitano is not here, might join us late, might not. Patty is here, of course, Catherine Tinsley, Anthony Ansaldi, and Bill Tyak. And I understand that we're gonna kind of go through the agenda to get Bill up first, so.
you wouldn't mind.
He can get us away. No, of course not. Nope, so we're all called to order, and I guess that would probably bring us to the budget discussion item, maybe? Is that right? We're talking leaves?
Yep.
So, thanks, Bill.
Sure. I know we talked about eliminating it during the last budget process.
Who's speaking now?
Bill Tyak.
Thank you.
We did not have, we did not budget the 40,000 that we would need to pay Weston and Sampson if we did the loose leaf pickup. So basically what we were going to do, if you remember, I included the letters I sent last year and the cost breakdown. And if you remember, we're in year 2 of our MS4 permitting, which we have to test the stormwater and the dry weather, and the best time to do that is in the fall. I have manpower to do it if we weren't doing the leaf pickup, so we were going to have Weston and Sampson get us started on that, do it in-house, and not have to pay an engineer to go around to all our outfalls sampling, which could be quite costly. So that's why I proposed for the third time in the last 13 years to eliminate the loose leaf pickup, which is very costly. Did you have a chance to look at the breakdown, the cost breakdowns?
Yes. Yep.
So, Bill, you'd still look to pay potentially Casella for bagging?
Yes, we're not going to eliminate. We're not going to not pick up leaves. We're just going to, we'll pick them up in bags. And Casella would do it, like they do in Hamilton and everywhere else around here. And it's $5,900 for one pickup, which we'd probably do too.
So that's an important distinction to make, is that there still will be leaf pickup. It'll just be bagged. So
Yes.
For residents, they just need to bag it, and
Right.
Nothing else has changed.
Right, and it's going to free up my department
Yeah.
for 2 months, 2.5 months.
But the residents will have to pay for the bag, is that correct?
Yes.
Yep, okay.
Hey, David.
You can put them in barrels too. Doesn't have to all be in bags. You can, if you have empty barrels, you can put them in barrels.
And we talked about this before. Do you have a rough estimate of what
Thanks.
percentage of residents don't use the loose leaf pickup? They just hire someone to remove all their leaves?
Well, most people, I don't know. Most people have their landscapers come and bring them to the side of their property, and they don't take them away. They gather them for us to go get. And some of the landscapers come from other towns with full trucks, and they leave them in this town, and that I've seen that happen. And
Really?
yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
What was that about other towns?
Some landscapers may bring leaves from other towns and dump them on our leaf piles for Wenham to do loose leaf pickup of those leaves. Yeah,
At their
dumping.
customer's house.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right. So they load up the truck and
Oh,
then
yeah, and then they leave with empty trucks to go to their next job.
run the blowers exactly and get everything, in.
Yep.
yeah. So how, so Casella would be roughly 6,000.
Yes,
Or run.
and it
So
could be less. We don't know because that's what Hamilton pays. We're much smaller.
Yeah.
If they could do the whole town with one truck in a day, then it would be half that.
Gotcha.
So we don't have an exact cost, but that's the highest it will be is 5,900.
Right. So their estimate is based on just volume, just capacity, basically?
Yes.
How much they can get done in?
Right.
Yep,
They get Hamilton done in one day, and they're a lot bigger.
right.
And if you look at what we pay, I paid $2,400 to have the cemetery done, and $2,100 to have Pingree Park done, because we just don't have the manpower to get to it. Myself and my foreman, we get what we can. The other cemetery and the town buildings, the War Memorial, West Wenham Playground, we can get that, but we just can't get the other ones. And then if you can see the leaf vac repairs, it's not a normal year. Usually we don't have to replace the liner or the housing, but we always have to replace at least one impeller, the hose, and other parts. And so that was pretty costly this year. And the diesel fuel, as you can see, we used 990 gallons for a cost of $2,673. So, I mean, that would all go away.
Right.
We still need the leaf vac to get our
Town
town property, but,
Yeah,
it wouldn't be going, full speed for 8 hours a day for 10 weeks.
right, right.
And am I not seeing on here, so this is all the loose leaf related numbers, and then what's the balance and how does it affect the loose leaf savings with the MS4 if we take that over? So how much?
Well, we got an estimate from Weston and Sampson that if they did all of our sampling and inspections, it would be approximately $40,000 to have their engineers, who get about $150 to $180 an hour, to come do our sampling that's mandated in year 2. We could push it off to year 3, but then the cost would be even more, probably double that.
And then if we weren't doing loose leaf pickup, and then that would free up some manpower to do sampling, would that be all of the sampling or just a percentage of the sampling?
We could do all of it in-house.
Oh,
We
so-
could do all of it, and the inspections. And if you find illicit
So it's safe
connections, then we need to sandbag and follow all the, wherever the water and the contamination is coming in. It's a long process, and I don't anticipate finding anything, but if we do, that's going to take probably half the crew.
Bill, you might have already spoke about this, but would stopping the loose leaf stop the cleanup of the cemetery in Pingree Park? Or is this just residential?
No, we do it ourselves. I wouldn't have to hire anybody. That $4,500 would go away.
Okay, right. And that's part of the roll-up, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Another work we could get done is last year I didn't get any crack sealing done.
Right.
And I could do more sidewalk work and outfall repairs, because we didn't get any of them done last year.
And so that's just being delayed rather than hiring someone else to do it?
Well,
Some of the
I don't, not like I have the money in the budget. I mean, I had $16,000 taken out for sidewalks and $25,000 for catch basin repair that never got put back in 2009. So we've been doing that all in-house. Now I just don't have the manpower and time to do it with all the requirements. So this year, I've been taking street capital, and I hired somebody to come in, and so far they've done 12 catch basins that we can't get to, so that we can get what we put off last year.
So that's another area where some resources would be freed up because you do it in-house rather than hire out.
Right, absolutely.
We did hire out for some of that, right? The crack sealing? Or no?
No, I bought a crack sealer, and, well, if it's $6,000, it's $6,500 a day to have a crew come in and do it. And they get more done, more lane miles, but not as good as we do ourselves.
Yeah,
But actually, we're going to start that again next week.
right. So the machinery is underutilized, basically?
Yes, it hasn't been used for 2 years because we didn't have the time to get to it. And then if the winter comes early, then we're really
Then
in
you're
trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are there maintenance costs for not using it after 2 years?
No,
Something said?
nope, it's already running and ready to go.
Thank you.
I mean, we talked about this pretty
Yeah.
thoroughly
Yeah.
last budget
true.
cycle.
Yes,
It sounds like there aren't really any changes.
there's no changes,
And that's the problem.
exactly.
Right, right.
And we had talked about, kind of reaching out and getting some feedback about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be curious where we are from the standpoint of like, the policy side of things, if the select board have,
Yeah, I haven't heard, last time I talked about it, we were gonna bring it up at town meeting, and it didn't happen.
And we
Right,
did talk about
right.
it at town meeting, in a meeting, which it's written up in minutes, that it was too much to bring to the table that day.
Right.
And we wanted to do more kind of education and clarification of what cost savings would be and what it would free up you to do, have additional cost savings, because we wouldn't be hiring people out. And just decided to reach out, like, I guess we're starting now, to educate the public and get some feedback. And then decide,
Okay.
starting now.
I mean, I think with the budget, the way we're going to be looking at it this year, especially with the situation going in with the free cash, these are the kind of conversations we're going to have early and often
Yeah.
this year to make sure that, they're on the forefront, that we know what opportunities might exist. And certainly, I mean, I think Bill presents some really compelling reasons why it's a good idea. It's not just money saving, it's more what you'll lose in that, they'll be able to do other things and be able to utilize his staff the way, he'd like.
Yeah, and so arguably, I think we're a little late to the table, because leaf pickup will be
In
soon.
2 months.
And is there time, I'm sorry, Jim, so are we talking about for next budget cycle, or it's possible to bring this to the residents now and make a decision for this season, leaf season, and do we have the flexibility with the budget accounts to not spend it on leaf pickup and do it on something else?
Well, I need to do the sampling this fiscal year that's required for our MS4 permitting.
I think we funded that for this year,
No.
too.
No.
Oh, we didn't.
no,
That was the $40,000.
right,
I thought
from
we...
MS4, yeah.
Okay.
So I guess it's, what does the citizens of Wenham expect from this year for the leaf pickup is really the question, so
Yeah.
Right.
that's,
Because are you talking this fall? Not to do it this fall? You prefer not
Well,
to?
we have a lot of options. We could not do our sampling and do it all in year 3, and then pay twice as much, or pay the fines when we don't do it at all. And they're already starting to fine.
So what percentage would you say of the population of the town uses loose leaf pickup?
I've never counted. I'd say a rough guess would be 90. It's not like we're not going to collect them. They're going to they'll just have to be in bags.
90% of the town or 90 residents
90% of the town.
uses? Wow.
I mean, if you just think about the piles and if you do the road miles, you see enough piles.
That's why it takes 10 weeks, 8 to 10 weeks.
Well, the nature, like, the tricky part is, there's a lot of, obviously, big properties. All it takes is a blower to move a whole ton of leaves that wouldn't be easy to bag, right? I mean, it's some properties are gonna be quick and easy, 5 bags, others would be 100, 200 bags easy, if someone took it on.
Right.
If someone attempted to do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of people can blow the leaves in the woods. Sometimes people right now take them out of the woods and put them on the side of the road.
Right, yeah.
And you laugh, but I see it every year.
I believe it. Too much time.
And also, too, I mean, like you had mentioned, I don't know if you were here yet, we was talking about a lot of times, landscapers will come in and just blow them to the street and then move off for their next job, because
Yep.
we'll pick them up, whereas they could certainly be taking them away themselves.
Right, right. Jim, did you have, sorry, we're not pausing all that much, if any comments?
Well, here's my challenge up here. I caught about 1/3 of what Bill was saying, because I suspect he was at the lectern.
Yes.
Why don't you sit here?
But,
This is working.
so, just a real quick question, are we expending any more dollars in this process, or I didn't follow all the exchange on the dollar issue, I'm sorry.
No problem.
If I get you real clear, if you could just review it just real quickly for me?
Yep, sure. So what it boils down to, the real short version of it is,
Yeah,
if we switch to bagged leaf pickup instead of loose leaf pickup, we save on the order of 14,000, right? $500
Yeah.
thereabouts.
yeah.
In budgeting for FY21, right? But we're talking about, so we're in the FY21 early stages budget cycle, but we're talking about the service, right?
Right,
In the FY20 budget season. That's a bit of a
Right.
snag.
right.
Kinda.
I mean, where's the 40,000 going to come from if we want to be compliant with the MS4 permit?
Right. So a lot of, Jim, what Bill talked about was the cost associated for doing in-house a lot of the water sampling from these
Yep.
storm drains and catch basins, all the runoff, all that stuff for the stormwater permitting requirements, which you'll recall were kind of delayed but have taken effect. And so now it's to the point where the cost of doing this stuff is, if we hire the engineering firm, it's going to cost, was it
40,000.
40,000, right, for Weston and Sampson. And then if Bill's team can do it in-house, the issue is we don't have it in his budget to pay Weston and Sampson to continue on,
So
To
we
do
have
100% of it.
in-house.
to do all of it, right.
Okay.
So if we freed up some DPW staff by not doing loose leaf pickup, then they would have the time to do the water sampling,
Okay.
which
So
you could,
so the 14,000 would go towards the cost of the 40,000, is that correct?
Good question. So we would not incur the 40,000 expense,
We
Yeah.
would incur the 40,
right.
and the 14,000 of savings, would that go, there wouldn't be any additional expenses then, is that correct?
That's the net that includes the expense, the additional expense of hiring Casella to pick them up, right?
None of that $14,000 is in the budget. It's all coming out of street maintenance.
Yeah.
So it goes right back into the expense budget.
Right. Right.
and then would be reassigned to sampling.
Well, that's budgeted too, but, we may need more, depending on how much we have to get done and how much help we need from Weston and Sampson. Because they're going to train us how to do it.
Which is
It gets
unknown.
reallocated to other work.
Right,
Yeah. That you didn't get done or can't get done.
right.
Okay.
So the net effect is no negative impact on the budget, is that correct?
No, it would be a net positive impact.
The net positive impact of 40?
14,500.
Oh, okay, all right, got it, okay.
The only hiccup I see, or now poke holes in it, is that leaf pickup is 6 weeks away. So we're kind of hitting.
Less than that.
Yeah, we're probably hitting them pretty close to what do I do? So that's the only, how we gauge the message, and I know it's important, because all of a sudden you have to find a landscaper to take it away or figure out what to do. There's just an added cost to the residents, so that's the only hiccup where I can see some
Yeah.
backlash on that.
Yep, it's definitely a change in the service.
So it's April,
It's a-
maybe, but, yeah.
Right. It's a reduction in the service. The end result is the same, right?
Yeah.
The leaves are gone, but it's potentially a
Well,
lot
they're doing the
more
work now, right? The
Yeah.
residents are doing it now.
Absolutely,
So I think
right.
that's a little,
So the question
Right.
is, it sounds like we're talking about implementing this leaf cycle, and in the budget preparation phase, I had said, and I think some consensus was around, go ahead and support at some point removing it to free up resources, just because, it's such a tight situation with the budget, we gotta offer something up as a change. And you've requested it multiple times, and all the other puts and takes with being able to free up resources to do something else. So I support this. I think we just wanted to, give people time to ask questions and learn about it, and then make a decision.
Yeah.
And do we want to do that kind of outreach? Does Town Hall want to do that kind of outreach? Does Board of Select want to do that outreach? I
Great
guess
point.
is sort of
Great
what we
question.
need to figure
I
out,
think
like,
it's a
next
combination of those
steps.
things. Yeah. Yeah, it seems like a combination of those things, and I think, are we, it's kind of temperature check, it's like, we're supportive of it generally?
Yeah, I think you have
Is
to
that-
caveat with, you're also getting your sidewalks and roads fixed quicker. You know,
Right.
It's not a take and a nothing, it's a take and improvements in other areas. But
Correct.
temperature check is, yeah, I think.
Yeah,
is-
and, you know, it will be an increased burden of labor on people. I mean, I have kids and healthy adults that should be able to do it. So, but
Say that now.
Speak for yourself.
for some, my kids will do it, I will not. For some people, it may be harder to make up the difference, and so, you know, I don't know if we want to reach out to Boy Scouts, Eagle Scouts, high school students who need volunteer hours, like organize something for some people
Yeah.
where it creates a hardship, and it could be win-win for kids. My kids also need volunteer hours, you know?
Well, they have seniors helping seniors through the high school as well.
Yes, so something like that to offer up as an alternative to people where it's a, you know, more of a burden than for others.
Right. But this is also how every other town does it. We're the only ones that still does this, and it's just, they don't do it anymore for a reason.
Yeah,
Right.
I've never seen it anywhere else I've lived, so it's been great, but I also
Yeah.
think it's worth doing something else with that money.
Okay, so, thanks for all the detail, both in the memo and here tonight for the update, Bill. I think what we need to do is then work with Anthony and Patty and the select board to just figure out a game plan in short order as to what we're gonna do. It involve, if we decide that we're not going to for fall 19, be picking up leaves, loose leaves. Definitely, to Carrie's point, it's a lot of outreach, because, I mean, there's just a long-standing expectation among residents.
It is, and I know it's short
That's
notice.
how it's gonna work, and it would probably blow up regardless of what steps were taken between now and then.
I agree.
I totally acknowledge that.
The
so.
earliest this can go before the Board of Selectmen now would be the 17th, because
Oh.
the agenda's set for the 3rd already, so.
Okay,
Again, that just adds to, that
that,
shortens
that
window.
narrows that window.
So, again, it's all about, you know, educating the citizens and so.
Can I make a statement here?
Yep, Jim, yep,
I understand the financials in a situation, I certainly support that, but I anticipate a lot of pushback on behalf of the community. So I think whatever strategies we come up with, I think we have to acknowledge that longstanding tradition. I think, as Carrie was saying, there's folks that won't be able to do this, and there will be a lot of pushback.
agreed. And I don't necessarily think we're in a position here and now to make the call as to
No.
whether or not we do this. So we're, you know, that burden is kind of
No, it's
alleviated.
just my
a bit.
observation.
No, you're absolutely right. And maybe it becomes a matter of using this fall leaf season as a means to what comes in 21, you know, FY '21, fallen leaves in 20. When do you pick up again? What are the dates, Ref? I know it's like usually
Beginning of November
November, yeah.
until the snow flies.
Right.
Or at the ledest, we've gone as mid-January on a good year.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that.
It's hit us before and right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So it would be under 6 weeks, and for what it's worth, residents probably make plans and allocate some monies to having, excuse me, landscapers probably lined up to blow these things off to the side of the road. Maybe, you know, maybe it's part of their ongoing stuff, maybe it isn't, I don't know.
So should we look at an emergency fund transfer for the 40,000?
That's the
other
challenge, right, that
issue
we're up against.
I mean, you can't have it both ways. It's just, you know, yeah, there'll be pushback, but, you know, how do we offset what's mandated by the state? I mean, we could pay the fines.
Right.
Well, also, we just want to have the stormwater system working properly.
Oh, it's working properly. It's just,
Working fine.
you know, it's geared towards bigger cities, and we have to follow the same rules as they do. So, you know, there's a lot of sampling, and that's not cheap.
Right. Onerous.
But as far as the equipment, it's ready to go, whether we do it or not, and we'll just do what we have to do.
Yeah, I mean, we've already had a lot of transfers more and earlier than the
Yes.
past couple of years I've been on
Right.
FinCom.
Right. Which, right, in dire situation, which it's
And we're-
basically shaping up to be. then there's more urgency.
Yeah.
But my point was we decided not to put the 40,000 in because we were going to, everybody was in agreement that this was the year.
Right, right.
So here we are
And
back
yet
at square
we haven't
one.
done anything to tell residents about it, so,
Yeah.
right. Puts us in a bit of a bind.
Yeah. Can I make just one
Yep,
final statement?
Of course, yep.
Just to put it out on the table. So we're supporting a no loose leaf pickup for a total cost savings of $14,500, is that correct?
54,000.
Yeah.
What?
54,000. The 14,000 plus the 40,000,
Oh, plus the 40 from
Right.
Weston and Sampson.
right,
So it's a total savings of 54,000.
correct,
Minus.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. I misunderstood.
right.
What I was going to say, people would have a lot of problems
So
if it
it
was
comes
only a
back down to about
$14,000 savings for
44.
this year. But a $54,000 saving is more significant. Thank you for clarifying that.
Does that, so there was the prospect of having like an additional, which I know we didn't fund, an additional staff, right, another laborer to help with this?
Well, that was what I asked for, was another body, and
Exactly.
we didn't, which was another cost. I didn't talk to you about that. I had asked for another body in the department.
Right, because that spread it out even more, the total
Yeah.
cost, the total savings band, right?
And I said I'd drop that request if they're not looking at continuing this. So,
So, sorry, how do I get to the 54 then? There's 45, 9, 10, call it 46,000.
40,000 for the MS4 requirements,
Weston Sampson,
Yeah.
14,000 savings
the leaves.
and not subcontracting the leaves, but you also want to minus 11,800 from that
So,
for the bag pickup.
But, I mean, we also talked about plus, being able to do some crack sealing.
Plus, it's freeing the department up for 2 months.
Right.
To me, that's the biggest savings.
You currently hire out for some of that stuff, like the
Well,
basin.
Or we just put it off. Because if it's not in the budget, I put it off till next year.
And the 11.8 is an estimate, it could be lower than that.
It could be lower, but it's, yeah.
right. When does the MS4 work take place generally? Is it
Well,
throughout
the
the
best
year?
time to do the dry water sampling is in the fall, right about the same time we're doing. See, if we pay Weston and Sampson, that's when they'd be doing it.
Right.
So, you know,
Is it a calendar year requirement for the permitting?
yes.
So it needs to be done
You need to
by-
get 50% of it done in year 2 and 50% of it done in year 3.
We're in year 2.
Yes. And we haven't done one sample yet.
We could defer to year 3,
Yes.
cost more to get it done because it's more work, or it's the same amount of work?
It's the same amount of work, but you have to do 2 years in 1 year. That's why they try to split it up, because it's an awful lot of sampling.
Right, right.
Anywhere where there's an outfall 100 feet from the wetlands, you know, and that's the high water, the 100-year mark.
Why are they allowing the sampling twice in 1 year? Do they impose a time minimum between samplings, or no?
No, it's a dry water sampling. It's, you have no rain for 3 days,
Gotcha.
and that's when they want to see what's flowing and what's in the water.
Okay.
And there's, I want to say there's probably 300 outfalls that we need to sample, and so we'll do 150 this year and 150 in year 3, and that's when the fines start. If you don't do 300, our 300.
Based on
It's a ballpark.
One time.
Right,
Yeah, that's if you don't get them all done 100% by the end of year 3.
yeah, yeah. You could do half of them now, half of them next year.
Right.
Right.
That's what I was shooting for. I don't want to be overwhelmed. Who knows what kind of a winter we're going to have and what, you know,
Right.
what I don't get done this year.
Forecast is heavy snow.
That's what I figured after last year.
Cold and lots of snow.
Yep.
Okay. Well, gonna have to figure out whether or not we need a reserve fund transfer or a push for the bagged leaf pickup, basically. Sort of my point.
All right, whatever it is, we'll get it done one way or another, but the equipment will be ready to go either way, so.
Okay.
And you've requested this 3 other times, 2 other times?
In the last 13 years, 3 times.
And this is number 4 or number 3?
No, this is number 3.
Oh. And I don't have history on when this was it actually proposed?
It was voted on at town meeting,
Oh, okay.
and it was like 398 to 2.
Strong opposition.
Yeah,
And how long ago was that?
10 years maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, quite honestly, nothing has changed, nothing will change in that regard with respect to resident expectations and wishes. And
Well, like Patty said, this is gonna be a difficult budget year, so these are some
Exactly.
of the difficult decisions and many more that I think the community's gonna be faced with, so.
Very true.
Yeah.
Those are the challenges,
Yep.
those decisions that we're gonna be having some long conversations about and
Yep.
presenting all the options.
no, you're absolutely right.
And I think we're doing our job by offering up some of these options that are reasonable.
Exactly.
Since it is, we're facing override.
Without a doubt.
And another thing in my department is vehicle replacement schedule. We've been off it for a long time, and it's starting to show.
Right. Oh, capital needs are mounting, right, no doubt. And I think it's a separate, likely larger, but closely related discussion that we'll be having soon on trash pickup as well. And potentially shifting that burden off the operating budget.
And one of the points you brought up tonight, which I guess I never thought of before, and it makes a lot of sense. I mean, you think of, because we're a small community, the departments run, especially in his department, certainly runs on a very small staff. So what's the best use of that staff?
Right.
I mean, when you think about it, is 10 weeks of them picking up leaves the best use of staff when there's cracks to be filled and sidewalks to be done? I think he's absolutely right that,
It's very labor intensive.
it's a very labor-intensive thing for a small labor
Yeah.
force.
Having staff injure themselves and it costing that much more than,
Yeah.
in workers' comp claims.
Yes.
And when I sub these out, people don't realize we're paying prevailing wage. That's crazy. If we do it in-house, it's less than half the cost.
Right.
And in my opinion, we do a better job.
Yeah, well, I mean, that.
Without a doubt.
In my experience, in a couple of years, I've been paying attention to town stuff more. DPW works hard, is a good value for the money, gets a lot done in-house, does a lot to reduce or eliminate costs. And, I appreciate that, and I hope the citizens are aware of that. And, when you request something like this, it's well thought out and reasonable. So,
I think so, and I appreciate that.
Just plain devil's advocate, and on this, I'm just anticipating questions. If someone said, if we gave you another person, would you still pick up my leave?
Well, that's just, it's going to help.
Yeah.
It might give me another body to do something else.
they still only have the one
Exactly, yeah.
machine that we call the new, but whatever the giant leaf
Yeah.
sucker is.
We have to
Right.
anticipate the question.
No, definitely.
right?
So, and that was
yeah.
part of Bill's ask, if we weren't going to move away from loose leaf, at least have one other body, which narrowed that potential cost to like the two ends of the spectrum
Yeah.
between maybe 110,000 in savings or something like that.
Yeah.
When compared to hiring a new person.
But the last time that happened, when we had that vote, they agreed, the total cost of the leaf pickup was $35,000. So they said, we'll give you another body. So with that money, I was able to replace somebody who had retired 2 years earlier.
Gotcha.
So I get back to where I was to begin with.
Yeah,
So we've kind of been holding our own
yeah,
for the last 12, 13 years.
right. Right.
But the guys, they get it done. No matter what, they'll get it done. Whatever we have to do, we'll get it done.
But we're in a bind, and frankly, I don't really want to spend $40K with Western and Sampson either.
And you know what, if it doesn't happen this year, I really hope that we can push for it for next year with enough notice to the residents, because I really honestly think it can't go on.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and we had made a decision to keep it separate from town meeting.
Right.
So if we do delay a year, which I hope we don't, to be honest, I think we need to come up with a way to get it figured out and accomplished separate from town meeting.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, look, we could communicate out to residents that this is what we're doing. I mean, through town hall, through the channels that be. I mean, this is a service that the town is providing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if the service changes, it gets communicated out to residents. That is,
Yeah.
I mean, it will be met with opposition, and as Jim points out, it's a longstanding tradition, as we all know. It won't be welcome news, but
No, not at all.
those are changes, and these are really, really challenging fiscal times.
Yeah.
And it's not really the right thing to do for us to say, okay, yeah, we'll just pay Weston and Sampson, 40 grand to do what Bill's team could do, without residents being wise to that, right?
Yep.
We bring it to light. And unfortunately, it's not really like something that you can have a deliberative discussion with residents. We can't have we could, but having 50 residents here, they're just gonna say, just pick them up, just suck them up off the ground, but their taxes are also going up regardless for other much bigger numbers as well. And 40 grand is not, 45,000 is not immaterial, right? That's meaningful.
It is in my budget.
In our 20, yeah, exactly. Even in our, $20 million budget, it's definitely,
I mean, even if we do the leaf pickup this year, the money's gonna come from somewhere. So I'll be taking it
Yep.
from street maintenance, that's what always suffers.
right.
Just an observation,
Yep,
if I could. The messaging of this to the community will be really important, and I think if we can be very clear and succinct in how we develop and explain the numbers, I think will go a long way, particularly in the face of our tight budget and the manpower that we have to work with. I think that messaging will really be critical, just as an observation.
I agree, and I also think coupled with that, having something pretty well fleshed out in advance in terms of, these are the people to contact at Seniors Helping Seniors. These are 30 students that signed up to volunteer on these days to bag leaves for the volunteer hours. Something that's lined up that will make it easy for people who need assistance or want assistance to do something different,
Right.
rather than just saying, oh, there's other options, figure it out.
What was that about the volunteers? I'm sorry, Carrie.
know.
I only got a little part of what you said.
We had just talked about a couple options for some of the people that this will impact.
Yeah?
In terms of just physical labor and being
Yeah.
able to put the leaves in the bags.
Yeah.
And just thinking of options to offer up and have lined up to help do that, like a group called Seniors Helping Seniors. It's the high school, Boy Scouts, Eagle
Yeah.
Scouts, high school students looking
Great,
for volunteer hours.
Great suggestion. I think we should put that in the messaging too. That's great,
Yeah.
Carrie.
It's just a little late in the year to start this.
Yeah,
That's my only,
apologies. We
my
have
biggest concern right
talked
now.
about it. It just didn't move anywhere at this point.
yeah, it's definitely late, and it's not gonna be an easy message. I think we need to, even if we can't, we could certainly work with, not in a traditional meeting fashion, but if we can work with the select board to some degree, at least to bring it to their attention. I can craft a memo as well.
Sure, that'd be great.
On behalf of FinCom. And then we'll have to figure out, how do we get the word out, assuming this is the path that we take.
Right.
And maybe on the 17th we talk about it as well. That gives us 6 weeks or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah. Which there are other questions too. Is this a temporary measure? Is it the long-term direction, right? Do we not do bags? And there are all kinds of questions that would be prompted, which are reasonable questions. Does this mean Wenham's not gonna pick up leaves at all someday, right? Likely not the case, but I'm just saying,
Yeah, I mean,
there are a lot of questions that would need to be
yeah.
answered in advance of residents so that there can be made aware.
Well, this sampling isn't a one-time thing. This is ongoing.
Exactly.
So
Right.
every 3 years, it's a requirement?
Every other year.
Okay.
Once,
see.
every year it's
Got it,
different.
Got it, yeah.
And then year 10 starts wet water sampling, which is even twice as much as this. Because you're hitting every outlet, not just the ones near the wetlands. So it's not going to get any better.
So next steps, touch base with Board of Select,
It's like, yeah.
and I'm happy to reach out to some people, seniors, or school volunteer.
Sure, that was a great suggestion.
Through, if you got, Town Hall wants to do it, or if you want me to do it, I'm happy to.
If you want to reach out to some volunteers to start coordinating,
Okay,
that'd be great.
okay. And I'll just have them contact you
Sure.
with further questions, like to actually if we proceed with this, to actually get people signed up.
Yes.
They'll contact you?
That's
Okay.
what I got. My neighbor used that service,
Okay,
not for leaves, for other yard work.
yeah. There's always hard work.
Right. How do, how are service updates communicated typically to residents for like, are there DPW, is there information from Public Works that's had to go out to residents about? is it
Well, like when we
mailing
pave, we mail
Yeah.
notices to everybody.
Right.
But if it's, you know, a trash issue or something like that, we just put it on the town website.
Yeah.
But not everybody
Yeah.
has a computer.
And sometimes the town clerk Facebook page posts
She
town
does, yeah.
announcements.
Yep.
Yeah.
Facebook page, website, mailings.
Can I make one more observation?
Sure, Jim.
I would suggest a direct mailing, snail mail. Remember, we have a significant percentage of folks that are elderly, may or may not have websites, et cetera, et cetera. I think a mailing with outlining the issues as clearly, succinctly as possible would be very helpful. I know there's a cost to that, too.
Agreed.
Maybe we can.
Going off your taxes.
Tax bills.
Tax
water
bills.
bills.
Yep.
Put
Yeah.
something in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the water bills are already going out, and
The water
the
bills go
decision
out
won't be
Friday.
made until the 17th, so
And we already have an insert for
Something to even think about for the future. That
Absolutely,
take
though.
advantage of that.
that's how we do it usually.
tax bills are a great way, 'cause everybody opens them.
Yeah, you
I don't.
You don't.
Diane has a
It's
list.
paid through escrow. I don't want to see it.
Well, and also it's not a net new, it's not an additional mailing, right?
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
yeah.
So we don't have that.
We are working on to have more of a social media presence for the town. I'm working on that. Right now, we do have Twitter, and we're working on Facebook and Instagram. So that'll be other means to get the message out to
Yeah.
the citizens.
Yeah, I think a presentation would be in order to, in a public forum, obviously, as soon as possible, if we go down this path, to invite
just-
residents to come to ask questions and to just hear firsthand what this is all based upon, what's driving this.
So could it just go on a Board of Select meeting agenda and just be rolled into public comment period?
I'm sure
At a
select
select
board
board
would be very much involved in this, as it's a service to residents. And we, because it's financially driven, it's not, zoning bylaws where we can take a back seat. We would be there with them, I think, and helping convey the need to do this.
I'd work with the selectmen to see if we can get something on the agenda.
Okay, great. Okay,
All right?
all right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Yes. All right, thank you.
Okay. So before we go by leaf bags, we have other agenda items. So Patty, should we bounce back to the beginning?
Sure.
Update for FinCom Chair. So just a couple of quick updates. So Carrie and I met with the interim superintendent for the Hamilton Wenham Regional School District. And we did so, what, about 3 weeks ago? Two weeks ago, yeah. Julie Kuchenberger, who reached out to us in an effort to introduce herself and to begin the process of working with the member towns, obviously as far as the FinCom piece. And I believe she's worked with Anthony. Have you met with her as well?
I've met with her twice so far.
Excellent, great. She mentioned a number of meetings she'd had with Hamilton and some of the Wenham side as well. I think
Yes.
so. I think select board members also.
She
Possibly.
has met with Select Board Member Harrison, and I'm not sure if she met with Selectman Wilhelm.
Okay. But certainly it was clear she's been very proactive in reaching out to both towns
Yes.
and looking to get up to speed on issues, to explain her everything from her teaching philosophy, her as a professional educator, her background, her approach to understanding what's working, what's not, you know, the various curriculums and learning change, all sorts of things from an educator standpoint. And you could call it a meet and greet, you could call it whatever. I mean, our goal was to certainly make the introduction on behalf of FinCom. And certainly very positive with respect to her willingness to work with the towns and to be, very open, forthcoming, and very transparent as to the issues at hand, how we discuss and resolve them, working together. So I think that's great. I think it's very positive development. Carrie, anything you'd like to add?
No, I echo what you said, and it was encouraging for the interest for the interim superintendent and also the assistant superintendent for finance to distribute.
Carrie, can you speak a little bit more into the
Sorry, Jim.
styrofoam, please?
It was encouraging how much
That's great.
the interim superintendent and the assistant superintendent want to build constructive relationships. So that was positive.
Good.
Right.
Very much. That's exactly what I found too, yeah.
Great.
Very impressed.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Seems excellent. So,
Who's
and
the assistant superintendent now?
Vinny, and I don't know his last name.
do you know it? That makes three of us. Yeah. So I had met him once before. He's been worked his way up through the ranks within the schools.
Yeah.
He's been there a while. I think
Yes.
knows it cold. I think he'll be a key contact for us in
Yep.
particular.
He's the assistant superintendent / business manager, is that
Yes,
correct?
for business and finance administration, I
Yeah,
think is the
yeah.
title.
Yeah, okay, great.
He's a numbers
Jeff
guy.
Sands, he's replacing Jeff Sands.
Right. And we didn't talk too many numbers, but I mean, we did certainly convey the challenging situation that we're in, the reason for it, some historical context, just at a high level. I think Julie has done her homework certainly on what the towns are up against, understands, how our town meetings are structured and how the apportionment formula and the budget, and, overall,
Great.
from a regional standpoint, definitely gets all of that and then some. And so the purpose wasn't in our first meeting to delve into too many numbers. However, we did ask about and acknowledge the significant deficit that is likely, I forget the number offhand, I think it's in the $500,000-$600,000 range that the school is anticipating as a shortfall for the current fiscal year. And I had circulated that memo from the former assistant superintendent as he left, kind of the good luck memo saying, we're going to be short significantly. So I think that was on the agenda for a recent school committee meeting, but I didn't attend or watch it live, and I've yet to watch the recording, but plan to. So hopefully they're talking about the deficit.
And we had talked last year about, we'd inquired with the school committee and administration about a comprehensive strategic plan. And that's something that's on their radar screen and certainly on Superintendent Kuchenberger's radar screen. And it sounds like they're moving forward with figuring out what it would entail to develop a plan. And that's also part of her listening sessions that she's
terrific.
doing.
Good.
Which is important, one, just to deliver an excellent education to our students, but also help make decisions with, tough budget situation that the school's facing too.
Did she have, or did the assistant superintendent have any information on the new education funding formula and how it may impact Hamilton Wenham?
So when we met, and I think it's still the case, the funding formula has not been finalized, but it's under discussion in the Massachusetts legislature. But there was a budget appropriation or authorization for this fiscal year for, is it called stopgap funding? What is it? It's a special education funding source where the state reimburses local districts, and then there's also a transportation piece. And that number is out and voted on, and it is, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it was an increase from last year, but it's not going to really result in a significant increase
Okay.
or relief
Yeah.
for our district, even though it was like 700,000?
I don't know.
I was happy because it seemed like a big chunk of change, but it's not going to provide the relief that maybe I had thought it was.
Did you say several hundred thousand?
You know, I want to say I have 2.4 million in my head, or 700,000.
700,000.
And as it might have been a 2.43 million increase, but it's only going to be like a 700,000. I don't know. I'm making up stuff.
All right.
Don't make up
All right,
stuff.
all right.
Stop while I'm only a little behind.
It's to be continued then.
Well, no, I think it was great. So, and that's one of the things that Carrie asked about, like the Chapter 70 discussions, and does the school have a seat at the table with regard? I think one of the school committee members is on like a educational consortium that might be kind of closer to that policy piece, but
Well, and
you've always been on that, which is good.
Yeah, and I think some school committee members are also, in addition to the school administration, working with Representative Hill and Senator Tarr on
Yeah,
that
good,
whole
Good, yeah, I'm sure they are.
process. Yeah.
Another piece that she's working on, aside from just getting up to speed on where they are in the current fiscal year in FY20, but also from a capital planning standpoint, that is squarely in her sights and with Vinnie as well to develop a capital plan. I want to say it was in October that it was going to be presented, at least a preliminary, I think. I could be wrong, but if my memory serves, that something was going to be presented to the school committee for discussion.
Closing a school, improving a school, turf field, all that stuff?
So I think that the capital plan would probably be like a 5-year projection. I would expect, like the near-term capital needs and cuts of how much and when in terms of prioritization. So you recall 2 years ago there was a 2.3 million debt exclusion that was not passed at town meeting in Hamilton anyway. So we skipped over it, and then none for FY20. So there's, I think, just a lot of questions as to what the capital needs are, and when we know their needs, we know the infrastructure. They have to, improve infrastructure, and they need, pots and pans and chairs and desks and all that stuff, but it's just a matter of having a plan, and that's, that the administration will be tackling that, which is great.
Great.
So yeah, that was a very positive development, and to welcome her to the administration, and Vinnie as well. Did you have anything else you wanted to add to that, or?
No.
Aside from what you already have, okay. So that was just one quick update. The other being, even quicker than that, would be along the lines also of kind of capital planning. I met with Bob Woodbury and Jack Lawrence, both of Hamilton's recently formed capital development, capital planning committee, something like the capital planning committee. Yeah. So have you met with either of them or anyone else from that committee?
No, Joe was telling me when I met with Joe. I met with Joe several times.
Yes, right. Okay, great. And so they're, this was just a brief introduction to kind of understand what they're doing, which is, of course, to look at the town of Hamilton's capital planning needs as they near to medium term, also in that like 5-year kind of time frame. I think it will probably result in some discussions about longer term, opportunities with Wenham. Obviously, the age-old one being, fire, merge the firehouses. I throw that out there. I'm not trying to say they're
That's
actually
worse than loosely pickup.
No, right, exactly. I'm just saying that would fall within the realm, right? I'm not saying
Yeah.
it isn't. I'm not saying it isn't a non-starter for
Hypotheticals.
some period of time.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely, like the hypotheticals are out there.
Yeah.
The REC, for example, the emergency dispatch. Something that, of course, we were with Hamilton before, so that's another bad example of where this could keep coming. But better examples would be, let's think of some good ones. Would be our excellent, highly functional joint rec program.
Yes.
The library.
Good example.
One after another, knocking them down. The library, rec. Probably not a whole lot of pleasant, yeah, exactly. Building inspectional services.
Yeah,
which we
that's
talked
up and
about,
running and doing well.
which
Yep.
is doing well. Yep. That probably isn't like the massive cost savings. I think so. Jack asked about things like IT, for example.
Yep.
And energy efficiency, and I mentioned our Green Communities grants, which have worked really well for us. And how much of it really boils down to two-town savings or real massive synergies is probably, there may not be so many slam dunks, but it's good to know at a minimum, are you buying a fire truck for, a million, 1.2 or whatever the heck they cost, we're buying one, a week later, or just kind of who's doing what.
So, when we, go ahead, Jim.
Oh, do they have their own ambulance service? I should know this, but I don't.
They outsource to, Beauport, yes.
No, I'm just thinking, is that a possible area in the future to look at, given our investment in a great new ambulance system? I don't know whether it's the capability we have to do both towns, but just a thought.
It's a good point. I think we're just getting started with basic with BLS. And they're going to need ALS support and even more than that. We're probably maybe a ways before we would look to provide to more, if ever, to more than just Wenham. But I think you're right, Jim. I mean, when you think about that as a public safety service, to the extent that there's obviously different public safety entities, different police departments and fire departments, maybe there's some opportunity down the road to partner up on the ambulance.
Particularly since we do make a few dollars on it.
Without a doubt. Yep.
And it might be one area in public safety that can more easily transcend both communities. I'm not sure about, I don't know, how it would work, but just a thought.
Yeah, absolutely. And those types of questions I think would be fleshed out through this committee. And there's a fair bit of overlap with FinCom, right? I mean, obviously FinCom and the town manager and the finance director or CFO or whatever the title is there in Hamilton, I think. But in any event, Jim, I mentioned that you are our FinCom liaison for those shared programs, and that will introduce you into the mix as well as Patty, of course, in some upcoming discussions. And maybe we have that group or some select representation of. I think they're a 5-member committee. I don't recall everyone. Bill Wilson's on it. I know that. Dave Thompson, I don't know, I forget the 5th. But in any event, also just an introductory. I think it's a good thing that Hamilton's doing. It's probably not a bad idea for us to consider someday in Wenham and capital planning.
We have
FinCom needs all
we have a capital plan.
capital plan, exactly. To the extent we need a committee to help oversee those things is not clear. I'm not suggesting we need one tomorrow.
Although, so when we had the joint meetings with Hamilton, Wenham, and school district, Hamilton did suggest and ask to do a joint capital planning with Wenham, which we just discussed, as well as the school district, just to kind of have what's on the radar and what are priorities.
Right.
Was there any discussion of something as comprehensive of that, or are they just trying to do their own prioritizing now?
Yeah, prioritizing in Hamilton with a survey of the surrounding land, especially where we have the schools, obviously, are a major shared component as well, the biggest, right? So that to the extent that capital needs can be understood across those three, to triangulate and just be smart about the planning. Kind of an overlay to their annual operating budget work and capital needs that are known, just to kind of flush out any others, and to your point, kind of foster a discussion about working together with us. So I think it'll be another partnership in addition to the schools, one that we'll bring into the fray with our FinCom. And of course, you have already been talking with them, which is great.
Joe and I have been talking about that even with Superintendent Kuchenberger, because their capital plan needs to be incorporated into our capital plan and Hamilton's capital plan. So we all recognize the need to work together and really overlap these because they affect each community. So it's on our radar screen. We're having constant conversations, Joe and I, and like I said, even with Julie, we've met a few times already, so we're gonna continue to meet. Just we were allowing her to get schools opened up, and then we were gonna touch base in a couple of weeks again.
Right.
So we're gonna stay on top of this, because this is obviously an important issue for the town.
Good. And we can also, we talked about the budget calendar, just to jump back to the discussion with Julie in the schools and having a kind of a better working engagement model between all three groups as it relates to the calendar, if nothing else, to understand where, kind of align the processes a little bit better if possible. So with that said, that's just my only update.
Did we get a new ambulance? I thought I saw something new. Yeah, I saw it the other day, yeah.
Yeah, we had it,
Nice.
they had it by that Friday after.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
up
I
and
saw it.
running like
I
a week
saw it
after our
recently,
meeting, yeah.
Yeah. Look good?
Yeah, looks nice.
They were very appreciative of your support, that's for sure.
Good. Well,
Very
we're appreciative of the service they're providing. I mean, I don't want to see it from the inside.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. We take a peek inside,
Looks good
maybe,
driving by.
but
Yeah, I thought about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right, so, should we move to election of officers?
Yep.
Is that an okay time to do so? Okay. Are there any nominations?
Nominations.
Nominations.
I have a
Not
nomination.
motions.
I nominate Alex as the next chair for this coming year.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, David.
Any other nominations?
Others?
What
Get to vote.
are all the positions?
There's a chair position, there is a vice chair position, there could be a secretary. We have not had one. We don't generally.
Sorry.
Anyway, so
Fair point.
we haven't yet. We could if we needed to.
A question of clarification.
Please.
So the, Alex, the chairs don't automatically roll over, is that correct? Obviously.
Correct.
I mean, the chairs or the positions don't automatically roll over.
As point of kind of the positions within the committee, right, we vote on them.
Every year.
That's right, yep.
I don't remember.
I must have missed this
I don't know
meeting
that we did
year.
last year either. I mentioned that to
I
Catherine.
think we did. I recall that.
I think we did last year.
Yeah, because you were nominated and Mike was, it was done right at the, I think, one of the first meetings.
Yeah, I think I
Generally, it's
missed
the
that
first meeting
meeting.
out of the gate, yeah.
Yeah. And Mike was nominated as vice chair.
Right. Right. I will,
So we do one at
Do
a
you-
time, or, so should we vote on chair?
Catherine, how do,
There's no other nominations, does Alex?
unless there are.
You don't
Let's
have to
wait and
make-
see
you
if
don't
there are
have to
any
do it
others.
with a motion?
No, if I accept the, if I accept the nomination and if there are no others.
Oh.
Speak
You're
now.
the-
or
you're the-
Speak
So
now
you
or
accept?
forever. Okay, I do accept the nomination.
Okay, there we go.
And I would also nominate Mike Therian as vice chair.
Can we vote on yours first?
We don't vote.
No, we don't have to vote.
Oh, we don't
because
have
there
to
are no
vote,
others.
that's right, because it's.
I'm uncontested. I'm just taking over, right?
Yeah, just write them down. Yeah, he's got it.
And I nominate Mike Therian as vice chair.
Second?
There's a second there. Any other?
Any nominations?
You still want to do it, Mike? That's one of the questions.
Well, only if you accept.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'll accept.
Oh.
Sorry. Why, do you want it?
No, I didn't hear you say accept.
Oh, I'm
so
sorry, I
inviting,
accept.
like,
I'm
I don't
sorry.
know if he's
There's
waiting.
no other nominations if he doesn't.
Right.
Yeah, we can have
And
it.
you-
I'd like to nominate Carrie as secretary.
I second that.
What?
I'm not sure what that entails, Carrie, but I think the work that you've done on the minutes is commendable, and I appreciate it.
But do we
Clerk.
Yeah,
do we need that?
That's what they normally.
Clerk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just think, I'm just thinking about the future and the roles that we have on the committee, and if you would be interested in that.
I will do it, but just of note, in my first budget cycle, I did a lot of that, and then last year I tried to spread it around more, just of note.
So, what's that?
May not be necessary. What do you want the clerk to do? You don't have it defined.
Right.
That's a good point.
Because you take all the minutes, right? So,
I'll take that back. Carrie, you do a great job. So, I mean, like, Catherine does make a good point, is that we don't want to burden you with other stuff if there's nothing to do, but I think that you can make a great, if there's other details of the, I'm trying not to give you a backpack of work or nominate.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
I,
'cause you were like, what?
well, no, and I'm just trying to reduce my administrative load,
Yep.
and was jumped in and did a lot of scrutinizing of minutes, and
Addie's been doing it as of late. She's been willing to and has been.
then I
Which is
started
really appreciated.
kind of spreading it around more. So I guess I don't know exactly what it entails. I don't exactly know what the current process is and how it's, I mean, we're all still looking at, I can be a backstop, I guess. Or do we not need it?
I think, so I mean, Jim, I definitely appreciate and second your recognition of the awesome contribution that Carrie makes to the committee. And
If there's no defined role, and that's, I can understand, Carrie, you being, what's it all about kind of question. That's understandable. Maybe we should just put a hold on it and think about how do we develop such a role if the committee feels that we need it.
yeah, and if we, that's a great point. If we do add another role, we can elect for that role at any point in time.
Because we really haven't discussed it, I just threw it out there.
No, I think that's good.
Yeah, I'm
Like
happy
Gracie,
to
yeah.
obviously participate actively and engage in FinCom, but also I'm just trying to reduce my administrative load because I have other
Got it.
administrative loads
Yep.
with other responsibilities.
I got it.
So,
Yeah.
Life, life
could
gets
be
in the
the
way of
meetings.
FinCom. We hear you.
And I mean, I do think that everyone does a thorough, we do our due diligence with looking at meeting minutes. So I
Yes.
don't think anything's falling
Yeah.
through the cracks with our current
Right.
system, or non-system as it may be.
No, without a doubt. I mean, that's, yep. We're open and transparent, and this is, I think, we've more than hit our stride, and we've got a tough budget season ahead of us. I think, in terms of meetings, I think we probably want to just fall into a rhythm of almost like a regular pattern, so we're not trying to scramble for, 5-6 days out, where we have the burden of open meeting requirements where it's, 48 hours beforehand, but it always seems like it's
You're
a lot
on
more that's
vacation.
required. It's
Yeah, I
right.
know,
It's
I always
like-
feel like I'm trying to get to you on a Friday or say,
No, it's not.
It's
It's not
okay,
you,
can I
it's
do
just
this
how it
agenda? I'm like,
goes.
I'm gonna post it anyway and I'll
That's
amend it,
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
how it goes. Exactly, but if we fall into a rhythm of like an every other Wednesday, for example,
Sure.
I think is probably smart. And so I'll work with Patty over the next day or so.
Yeah, that's great, because just jumping from that,
Yeah,
we
sure.
do have in your packet, just a letter that I gave to Anthony today about another reserve fund transfer that we need. This is going to the selectmen, just to take a look at it.
2,700 or something?
It's like little over $2,000.
Carrie, can you speak more into the phone
Oh,
again?
Patty, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is Patty. I don't know if you're looking at the
Oh,
packet.
Patty, okay.
The packet that you sent, you can look at in your email afterwards. There's a letter that I sent, or a memo to Anthony, concerning a reserve fund transfer that I figured I'd give you some background on, and we could vote out at the next meeting. Right now, we're okay fund-wise, but we got a couple of months. Basically, what happened is, for years, the town didn't have any Chapter 115 veterans benefits being paid out. It looks like the last one I saw, I believe, was fiscal year 15. So
Is that a Massachusetts Chapter 115?
Massachusetts, and we will get reimbursed for it, but we get reimbursed 75%, and it takes up to 2 years to get the money back. So
That's from the federal government.
I think it actually might, I think it's a pass-through, but I think
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
2 years?
it takes a while. So anyway, it's a small amount, but it's something that we had, and we just didn't budget for it this year in the veterans benefits budget, so we need to catch that somehow. We put $475 this year, so we've got a couple months' worth of the benefits, but we're gonna run out at the October payment. But certainly if we meet in the next couple of weeks or sometime in September, we'll be fine.
And what's the total transfer? 2,000, did you say?
$2,035.
Excuse me?
$2,035.
Oh, 2,000, okay, very good.
But we're not making that motion and making the transfer tonight.
No,
Right.
no, no,
Okay,
we
all
usually
right.
like to kind of run it through the board as well, and
Yeah,
then
right.
come it to you once they've had a chance to take a look at
Is
it.
this the one that was gonna be on our previous meeting, on our last meeting as well? That was.
No, that was a
What was that
different
again?
one. That was for some tree removal.
Oh, that's right,
Yeah.
cemetery.
Cemetery, thank you,
Yeah.
yeah.
Did the VA approach you folks, or?
No, we have an arrangement. There's a regional veterans agent that takes
Oh, yeah.
care of
I know her.
us in Ipswich, and, yeah. We
Yeah.
pay them, a assessment every year, and they get approached, and they do all that, and they basically just let us know
Gotcha.
what's going on. So I found out last week that this was something that we were gonna be able to do for this family, so.
That's not much for healthcare.
Right. And so how is it that it takes 2 years to receive the funds? How does that?
I have no idea. It
That's
just,
the joke about, that's how long the government takes.
Right.
when my
Not
previous
local
job, I would get
No.
checks from FEMA all the time, and it would take us weeks to figure out which storm it was for, because it could have been, I was getting checks when I was in 2017 for the 14 winter.
Not surprised.
It was interesting.
Not surprised.
What is this for? No, that was
They
3
don't
years
help
ago.
you either. You have to call them, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They don't annotate it.
Alex, can I have a point of question?
Of course.
Did we vote on the nominations for the chair and vice chair? Did I miss that?
So there were only one, unless you would like to add others, which you're more than welcome to, there were only one nomination for each
Yeah.
position, thus voting is not needed.
Oh, we don't need to vote on it?
Correct.
Oh,
Or make a yeah, I thought you
We-
still would
we-
need to make a motion, but no.
No, right, yeah.
okay. I remember voting on it last year,
We
but
probably did, because I'm sure that I was probably driving and didn't know that we didn't have to.
okay,
I
okay.
mean, yeah, no,
Just want to be clear about
entirely possible, and you're probably right.
They're better
Very
safe than sorry.
thorough.
Yes,
We're dotting i's twice.
yeah, checking every
Crossing
box.
t's twice.
Yes, no, thank you, Jim, for checking on that.
So we don't have to vote on it, it's just an FYI, it's coming up, right?
Yes,
Okay.
Right,
You'll
is
see
that,
it
is that in the next Board of Selectmen meeting?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
This correspondence is, and so next time I would expect when we meet, assuming,
Right.
that there shouldn't be any issue, then we'll have a reserve fund transfer for you to vote on.
Cool. Okay, great. Operational items, Seth?
That was
Just in
more,
case.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, any other items from the committee or from Anthony?
We're working on the budget calendar, so we're hoping right now we're shooting for October, first meeting in October for a financial forecast, so that's what we're shooting for.
Okay.
A little bit, one meeting behind where we were last year, but
Yep.
given the changes this year.
Yep.
Could you recap that, Alex? I couldn't hear
Sure, sure.
Anthony's in the background.
Yep, so aiming for beginning of October,
Yep.
the first for financial forecasts from the town, on the town side for each of the departments.
Okay, great.
High-level forecasts,
Right.
right, with a
Right.
number of placeholders
Yep.
and unknowns, but will be the starting point, of course, for where
October 1, okay.
we go from there, right?
Yeah,
Right.
first BOS meeting in October.
I don't want to extend this meeting out too much longer, but just a quick question.
Of course. no.
Earlier in the year, we talked about making these meetings or the process shorter by not having certain heads come up 3 times.
Yeah.
repeat the same- Are we doing that, or is that still in process?
I mean, I think that's something we could continue to talk about. One of
Okay.
the, what we had talked about last time, having this committee be a real active part of that Saturday meeting that we do, and then maybe.
You usually are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but then maybe assigning different committee members to be liaisons to, public safety or whatever, and
Yeah.
then as a group, maybe meet after that meeting and say, okay, what follow-up questions do we have? What things weren't clear? What things do we want some more information on? And have those committee members get back to the department head, by phone, quick
Yeah.
meeting, and then come back and see if we can resolve some of those issues without having to. I think we spend a lot of time bringing them up here to do it over and over again, when I
Yeah.
think we
Budget
could.
hearings.
Yeah. I
It
think
is,
that's
it's a lot
better
for
way.
them, and I also think it'll give this committee a little bit more time to kind of see where we're going and really focus on the big policy
Right.
and big picture stuff, I think we're gonna have, the budgets, they're usually well thought out, they're usually well presented. I don't think we need to have them here all the time. Certainly, we would still have the joint meeting with Hamilton over the joint services. But-
Yep.
But I
Yep.
just think, we don't need 8 or 9 meetings to bring the department heads back again.
I
if
agree.
we
That was
don't
my
need
que-
it.
That was my question,
Yeah.
that I think we try to make it a little bit more succinct.
Yeah.
The good thing is the finance committee, this will also be a public viewing, but I think we've been together, this will be a third
Yep.
one altogether.
That's right.
So we're
Mhm.
about 80% through here, right?
Yeah.
So there's still
Yeah.
osmosis, okay.
Yeah, I
thank you.
appreciate the way we've done it, is a lot of us were working our way up the learning curve,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of it, we already remember from prior years.
Yeah, and this is, I mean, this is this will be, actually be a fun year because we've all kind of been through it. I mean, I came in a little bit later, but certainly for most of the, so we're all, I think it's great. I think it'll be a really productive year, and certainly everyone's got the knowledge now to be able to do it at a much more kind of, you do this, you follow up on that, and we'll all report back.
Yeah, so the kind of.
Streamlined.
Yeah.
Right, and the global, like, historical context has been formed a bit more so, like, to your point, like, if I don't remember something, you can say, like, remember that was.
Right.
Remember last year, oh, yeah, okay. And then, but to your point, Patty, so for liaisons to the town, I think that's critical, and it doesn't, we've got the liaisons of town hall, schools, as is historically the case with chair, with an additional schools liaison, because Carrie's got a ton to offer with regard to ideas and questions and everything else for the schools. But that doesn't mean that we would not be, I don't think, part of, town department, specific department process for this, that we don't need to, and Jim having shared services with Hamilton, and with Mike having public safety, police, fire, and I think DPW as well, right? Or I forget.
I
But-
forget, okay.
But in any those I think
Once
would
about 3
be,
years together.
those would be, well, I think.
Still saw summer,
So-
break a little
Somewhere
bit.
like, huh?
Exactly, and to the extent that that's sort of like an ongoing liaison and, resource back and forth, that doesn't, we still, I think, we don't have to abandon it. You can break from that and just where needed, right?
Yeah.
If inspectional services,
Yeah.
needed me, great. If whatever, you name it, if library
And
needs
of
Jim,
course, I'm
then
always here as a resource
David.
as well, if,
Yeah.
I'm here in the building every day, so if
Right.
you need any legwork done or have any things that you need clarified, I can certainly
Right.
handle a lot of that for you.
I think this year particularly, I mean, we have 2 new town managers. We have a new library director and a new superintendent. And the more we can have communication through that process, I think will be really helpful.
Right. Absolutely.
Thank you. I make a motion. We adjourn?
Second?
All in favor?
All right.
Great. Thank you all.
Thank
Jim,
you.
thanks very much.
Was that a motion to adjourn?
Yes, it was.
Can I, a motion to hang up?
Yes, you can hang up.
Thank you for your patience.